All right. Hi, KR640. This is a systematic review of 31 assessment tests to evaluate mobility in older adults. This is from the Biomed Research International. Just a little background of what the Biomed Research International, it's hosted on the hindawi.com, which holds multiple other research journals as well. And these are just a little bit of a metrics of how the Biomed Research International journal is doing. So looking up the review, I looked on Google Scholar and UH Library Online, and you would have never guessed. I couldn't find any more other systematic reviews. A lot of them were too specific and not broad enough to cover just mobility in older adults. So this is the review of the article. The main goal is of this article is to provide clinicians and research valuable references regarding evaluation of gait balance transfers in elderly people. Specifically looking into to identify all available and commonly used current assessment tests, their characteristics, the contents, and the validity in which these tests are being performed. So how did the research start? Well, they looked for through 2,173 titles and abstracts, pulled out about 118. And then of that 118, they pulled up around 61 studies to go more in depth of the 31 assessment tests. So here's the data. It's quite a bit. I'm sorry, my face is in the way. We will go through them pretty fast. I will highlight some of the tests that are pretty interesting in my eyes. So first things first, I do want you to kind of take note of the highlighted things that I did right there. You'll see that there's the number of citations, purpose of the evaluations, and then also the time of it takes to perform these tests. These are three key factors that will uh, essentially tell us if these are specific tests that we would like to do um, with the participants. These tests are then classified into three subsections: performance-based measurements, judgment-based measurements, and then self-reporting. Highlighted as well of these, so those are the three sections we'll be looking at. So the performance-based measurements are based off of participants completing specific tasks, and then through that they are generating a ratio score. So once again, we'll kind of quickly go through it. Time up and go. They walk. Participant walks a particular distance, turn around, sits down. Short physical performance battery. This one consists of various activities. Once again, checking for balance, checking for walking time, and then ability to sit to stand. 6-minute walking test, pretty self-explanatory. Walk 6 minutes within a particular distance. Up and go test is a modified tug test. And then participants of the usual habitual gait speed. This one's interesting. You technically do need a standard amount of 10 feet, 13, 20, 32, and then an additional 16 feet for acceleration and deceleration for the participants. Physical performance test. This one, once again, has a lot of other components with it. Big thing to take away with this one is that even though there is quite a bit of things done, these are functional training assessments. Takes about less than 10 minutes. So that's not too bad. It's as long as this presentation, essentially. 5 sit to stands, you stand up, sit down 5 times. L test is you're walking a particular distance of 32 feet in an L-shaped pattern that consists of a turn. Backwards walking, what I found really interesting about this one is that there is no other definitive tasks. And then, so you basically are walking backwards. Demorton Mobility Index. This one is a 15 component task. It's a score out of 100. So these tasks are, functional things like standing, balance, dynamic balance. Figure eight walk test is where a participant walks in a, you guess it, figure eight in about 5 feet. You are graded and scored on how fast it takes, the amount of steps it takes, and the accuracy that you are able to maintain the figure eight pattern within a 2 feet error margin. Yeah, so a lot of these other ones, it turns into kind of a more of a functional training. One highlight to point out is this TWT, trail walking test. This one is interesting. Participants are walking a specific pathway and they're trying to get to these 15 marked flags. And once again, it's in various locations and they're just trying to get to it in a timely manner. And yeah, all these other ones too. This one's kind of funny. Pick up a weight test. That's it. There really is no other measurement than that. Then now moving on to the second section, judgment based. This is once again where the tester is scoring the results of a participants, but the factor is now there's a subjection on the person that's performing the test. Biggest takeaway with these is that these components usually have multiple layers to it. So the time that it's going to take will be a lot longer. And so for some, that's okay, but some of these tests can run up to 40 minutes, as you can see over here with the balance and evaluation test. And then, yeah, just once again, kind of hitting it home that most of these tests are multiple component factors. And so once again, that kind of goes into, is that a test that we are looking to do, looking at functional mobility and not just one specific area. And some of them can be very easy, like a turn 180. Okay, and then the last section is the self-reporting questionnaire. This one is really easy. This is where the participants just take a survey and answer. And what I find interesting is that they can range from less than 5 minutes or a period of 1 month. This really is just when the participants get back to you. So it's and this is more of a subjective means, pros and cons to it. Oftentimes most people kind of have a negative disposition on themselves, so that's kind of a little bit of a con. Okay, so what? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information to dissect with it. But like I said, once again, we are looking at specific areas, the number of citations, purpose of evaluations, and then the time to administer the test. Kind of some strength and weakness of these tests, subjective tests. Once again, like I said, they are sometimes not as reliable because participants may have a negative disposition or not the best point of view on how they're doing. And then the other one is objective measures, where it's just more performance-based tests. Essentially, one isn't better than the other. It really just depends on what you're testing and the availability of time that you have. And so in their study, Van Schort and Branch explained three major factors in which choosing to use these assessments is one, the appropriateness of the target population. Once again, older people, the practicality of these tests, and then also the psychometric properties to kind of further tease out other things in it. The time required, the equipments, the method of scoring, the means of how the test is being performed, and the interpretation of these tests. So once again, looking at the number of citations, this also is just more of a credit to the test of how valid that these tests are done. The purpose of these tests, once again, it can break down to functional mobility, just more strength, endurance, and balance. So you gotta, knowing which test you want to do, it's good to see. And then also too, how long does it take? 10, 15 minutes, or does it reach up to, as we saw in other tests, 45 minutes? And so these are some other data collected of some tests that are related to other tests that are there, like the Berg balance, just to kind of see how close they are in validity. And so what's the takeaway with this is that, these tests, as broad as they are for mobility and functional training, they're finding that, yeah, there are correlations for those and more significant niches of pathology like stroke, spinal injuries, Parkinson's. So there is a lot of carryover to it, but once again, there's a lot of testing that you have to kind of sort through. So the big takeaway that I could see is that a possible thesis or a plan B is creating a practicality flowchart for mobility. Using a creation flowchart like this, for instance, using equipment required. Yes, okay, next, then what is the time needed? What is the equipment uh, required? And then the method of scoring. So that was a pretty long and quick and brief topic. So be sure to stretch. And here are some of the references from the article.